friendship that'll never, ever, ever, ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction video 534. Jack in the neighborhood, my brothers and sisters. So as y'all know, every Sunday we go check out the latest video from the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ballin'. But this Sunday he put out like a documentary style video, and we not gonna check that out together. But it does give us the opportunity to go back to a certain man channel and check out his latest video that he put out like 3-4 days ago. And that man that I'm talking about is none other than Lazy Masquerade. Back to the Lazy Man, y'all. And the title of the video is The Disturbing Timeline of Idaho Student Murders. Now, I just want to see how the Lazy Man gonna lay this timeline out, y'all, because this was one of the most craziest things when it first happened. You know what I'm saying, man? This is one of the things that the whole United States felt, so to speak. So I just want to see how the Lazy Man finna lay it out to us. But before we see, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you may need. Get what you need, please. We back to the Lazy Masquerade. Y'all got what y'all need, y'all ready to go? Then let's go. The Lazy.
Moscow, Idaho. A small city with a population of a little over 26,000 people. At the center of it, the University of Idaho, a bustling campus full of bright minds and infinite potential. The sort of place that should be the start of a young person's life, not the end of it. This is the last known photo taken of 4 University of Idaho students, uploaded to Instagram just hours before their lives were taken at their off-campus accommodation. Madison Mogan and Zana Knodel were co-workers at Main Street's Mad Greek restaurant. As well as working together, the pair also lived together at 1122 King Road, a 6-bedroom, 3-story rental property situated on a quiet residential street. Also living in the house were their 2 friends, who, for the sake of their privacy, I'll be referring to as D and B. Madison's lifelong best friend, Kaylee Gonsalves, had been living at the house with the other 4 girls and had only recently moved out. She was preparing to embark on a backpacking trip across Europe before beginning her new job in Austin, but had made time to see Maddie for one last goodbye, a farewell captured in this photo. Sana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, had also become close with his partner's housemates and often stayed over. Sana and Ethan were described as 2 goofy peas in a pod, she a talented gymnast, and he a tulip farmer. They were a light-hearted, kind-hearted, positive group of friends, full of warmth and life. But their bright futures were cruelly snatched away from them one fateful winter's night in 2022.
And that's the thing about this, man, that I don't know, for me, I mean, all murders, anybody who get killed, it hit me, y'all. But like the Lazy Man just said, from the pictures that you see of these people, they do just look like light-hearted, goofy, fun, loving to have, live life, love having a good time people, man. And just this image right here, they don't have any idea what's about to happen to them. You know what I'm saying, man? We just never know when it's our time to go. Like, if you was to walk up and tell any of these 4 people right here, man, and a couple of, I can't even walk up to nobody and tell them that, but they would not believe it. Let's go.
This is the timeline of that night, and a breakdown of the investigation so far. Between making videos, managing projects, and trying to find some
Laser man gone to a commercial. Y'all fuck with stamp.com, man. But yo, it's like they just from their pictures, you just feel the love and the appreciation and the happiness that they had, man. Oh, it's fucking sad. Let's go.
November 12th, 2022 was a Saturday. That evening, the students pictured here went off in separate groups to enjoy a night of drinks and laughter. Kaylee and Madison went into the city centre, and Sana and Ethan to an organised event. Here's how their night unfolded. At 8:57 PM, Kaylee posted this photo, taken earlier that day, to her Instagram page, with the accompanying caption, "One lucky girl to be surrounded by these people every day." At 10 PM that night, Kaylee and Madison were seen at the Corner Club, a downtown sports bar. There, they spent several hours drinking and chatting. Meanwhile, Sana Canoodle and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, were seen at an on-campus party taking place at the Sigma Chi fraternity, approximately a 5-minute walk from 1122 King Road. At 1:30 AM on the 13th, Kaylee and Madison left the Corner Club and were caught on CCTV making their way south with a man who isn't a suspect in the case. The next available images of the two were captured at 1:41 by the Grub Truck, a food truck which was operating on Friendship Square and whose owner happened to be live streaming on Twitch.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome back.
Thanks. I think I would like the carbonara.
Okay. You up, bro? Yeah, they both. I feel bad.
But if I have like a free grub truck on my like app.
Oh, yep. So what you want to do is we'll actually do this. There you go.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
How many more do you need? That's the second one? Awesome.
At the same time Kaylee and Madison placed their food order, Sana and Ethan left the party at Sigma Chi and made their way back to 1122 King Road. At 1:51 AM, Kaylee and Madison hopped into a taxi, and 6 minutes later, arrived back home. Sana and Ethan were already inside, along with D and B. From this point, the house fell relatively quiet. Kaylee and Madison were hanging out on the 3rd floor, Sana and Ethan in Sana's 2nd floor bedroom, D on the 2nd floor, and B on the 1st floor. Between 2:26 and 2:52 AM, Kaylee and Madison made 10 calls to Kaylee's former long-term boyfriend. None of them were answered. At 2:53 AM, a white sedan is seen driving along the highway from Pullman towards Moscow, roughly an 8-mile journey. At 3:29 AM, CCTV footage caught that same white sedan passing by 1122 King Road, where Kaylee, Madison, Sana, and Ethan were relaxing. By 3:59 AM, that car had been captured driving by the house 2 more times. At 4 AM, phone records showed that Sana received a DoorDash delivery. According to the driver, he left the order at the front door. At 4:04 AM, the white sedan was seen passing by the residence for a 4th time.
Okay, at this point, man, you gotta think that the damn white sedan and whoever in it got something to do with it. Come on, man, this ain't no damn coincidence. You just keep driving by, then these people end up dead. You the one who did it, but it's just like, And we have watched this, not this video, but we have watched a video about this story before. I want to say from either Mike from that chapter or Adrian from Coffee House Crime. One of them, either the Coffee Man or Mike, but it's still just crazy as freak, y'all. And I feel like the Laser Man giving us more details, or I just forgot a lot of these details. But yeah, like I said, I think the sedan person, they got something to do with it.
It attempted to park outside before leaving and immediately returning again.
creepy as hell.
At that same time, Dee was awoken by what she thought was the sound of Kaylee playing with her dog upstairs. She opened her bedroom door and toned her ears, and believed she heard either Kaylee or Zana say, "There's someone here." Dee then closed her door and returned to bed. A forensic download of Zana's phone showed that she was awake and scrolling through TikTok at 4:12 AM. Dee says that she opened her door a second time at 4:13 AM and heard what she thought was crying coming from Zana's bedroom across the hallway, followed by a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you." At 4:17 AM, a Ring doorbell camera on a neighbor's house located less than 50 feet from Zana's bedroom captured the distorted sound of voices, a whimper, and a loud thud. 1 minute later, at 4:18, Dee opened her bedroom door for a third and final time. This time, she didn't hear anything, but rather saw a man dressed in black with a mask covering his mouth and nose, walking quickly towards her. This figure walked right past Dee, entered the kitchen, and exited the house via the sliding glass door. It's unclear whether this figure didn't see Dee or simply chose to ignore her. Regardless, Dee was left frozen in fear. She locked her bedroom door and, in a state of dissociative shock, opted not to call the police. At 4:20 AM, nearby cameras caught images of the white sedan speeding away from the scene. Neither Dee nor B heard anything to suggest that something terrible may have happened to Zana, Ethan, Kaylee, or Madison.
I just gotta say real quick, y'all. I wonder, did that person not see D or saw her and just decided not to kill her? You know what I'm saying, man? Because if he actually saw her and decided not to kill her, then that wouldn't lead you to believe that who he killed, it was like targeted. It wasn't like, I'm just gonna go in here and kill everybody. I want to kill these specific people. But the way he did it, man, it's just out of a freaking movie. That whole little segment or little thing that we just heard from the lazy man, you can make a movie out of that. Freaking freaky.
Almost 8 hours later, at 11:58 AM, the authorities were summoned to 1122 King Road after a caller reported unconscious people at the property. Ethan's best friend had come over to the home and found the 4 students unresponsive. Responders arrived to find the property's front door wide open with no signs of a forced entry. Inside the residence were D, who was paralyzed with fear, B, who had slept through the entire ordeal, and several other friends whom they had since called for assistance. The bodies of best friends, Kaylee and Maddie, were discovered in a bedroom on the 3rd floor, and Zana and Ethan on the floor below. They'd all sustained multiple puncture wounds made using a kabar knife, and red arterial spray covered the walls of both bedrooms. None of them had been bound, gagged, or restrained in any way, and yet none of them had screamed. Despite the mutterings Dee had heard, investigators believe that all 4 victims must have been asleep before they were attacked.
Yeah.
Experts determined that their lives had been ended at some point between 4 and 4:25 AM. Even if help had been summoned immediately after the attacks took place, professionals are confident that none of them could have been saved. While examining the scene, the forensic team discovered a vital piece of evidence: the sheath of the blade used to end the 4 victims' lives, a sheath that the perpetrator had forgotten to attach to their belt. It was found face down, partially under both Madison's body and the comforter on her bed. Crucially, a DNA sample was found on its clasp, one belonging to a single male source. Investigators collected what they called a video canvas, made up of CCTV and home surveillance footage from around the area, and concluded that they were looking for a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Though they initially believed the attack was a crime of passion, 3 days after the slayings, Moscow Police Chief James Fry announced, "We cannot say that there is no threat to the community." Dee would describe the intruder she saw that night as a man standing around 5 feet and 10 inches, not very muscular, but athletically built, with bushy eyebrows. On November 30th, Moscow police issued a list of individuals that they believed were not connected to the crime. That list included D and B, a man seen on the grub truck surveillance video, the taxi driver who took Kaylee and Madison home, the man Kaylee and Madison called repeatedly on the night they were killed, and everyone present at the property when the 911 call was placed. While examining their surveillance canvas, detectives made a huge discovery. They realized that the white sedan had traveled to Moscow from the neighboring city of Pullman. After tracing the owners of every similar car in the area, one man came onto their radar. This is the authorities' one and only suspect, 28-year-old criminology PhD student and former teaching assistant, Brian Kohberger, a man studying at Washington State University in Pullman. Before we continue, it's important to note that Brian is yet to stand trial and is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Yep, and now the lazy man helping refresh my memory on this case. I remember that they had caught somebody now, y'all. I forgot all about that part, but we at that point where we don't even know if he gonna be found guilty yet. Yes, the lazy man has caught me back up. I remember this. It's still, I think it's him. If you just gotta ask me, I still just think it's just crazy that that damn car was going back and forth past that house. Whoever was in the car had to be the one who did it. And buddy, it seemed like it was you.
That being said, here are the facts as released by the authorities. Not only did Brian match the description of the perpetrator given by D, not only did he drive the same make and model car as seen passing 1122 King Road, and not only did he suspiciously receive new license plates 5 days after the incident, but his movements also lined up with those of the killer. At 2:47 AM on November 13th, a cell phone belonging to Brian Kohberger stopped connecting to the network in Pullman. At that same time, the white sedan was seen making the 8-mile journey towards Moscow. Around that time, Brian's phone disconnected from all networks, suggesting he turned it off. At 5:25, around an hour after the slayings had taken place, Brian's phone reconnected to the network in Pullman. A more in-depth examination of his phone turned up something sinister. His device had pinged off a cell tower near the murder scene at around 9 AM on November 13th, roughly 5 hours after the slayings. It's speculated that he may have realized he left his sheath behind at the scene and had returned to retrieve it. His phone had also pinged from the same tower at least 12 times between June and November 2022. According to a probable cause affidavit released in January 2023, all of these occasions occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days. Still, his movements could have been circumstantial. He did live relatively close to the victims after all, albeit in the next town over. One way investigators could confirm whether Brian was involved would be to link him to the DNA found on the sheath. A public genealogy database helped authorities identify a partial DNA match, suggesting a familial connection to Brian Kohberger, but they wanted more confirmation. On December 15th, Brian and his father were on their way to Pennsylvania to spend the holidays. During their journey, they were stopped twice by officers, ostensibly for following a vehicle too closely. According to The Independent, however, those stops had actually been requested by the FBI, who were seeking images of the suspect's hands. It's not yet clear why the images of Brian's hands were so important to the investigation, or if the officers managed to obtain anything of interest by carrying out the stops. But regardless, Brian and his father were allowed to continue with their journey, none the wiser. Covertly, officers took DNA samples from trash outside Brian's family home in Pennsylvania, where he was spending the holidays, and found them to be consistent with the DNA found on the sheath in Madison's room. Still under observation, Brian was seen outside his parents' home, wearing surgical gloves, disposing of trash bags in a neighbor's garbage can at 4 AM. The authorities also noted that Brian had meticulously cleaned his car, both inside and out.
See, Brian doing too much. He moving too like he trying to cover up something. You know what I'm saying, man? He moving very suspiciously. Seriously, man. This one right here, I'm glad that I'm glad that the lazy man gave us this video so we can get a refresher on this story, like I said. But everything just seemed like it's leading to him. Like seriously, man, everything is leading to you, bro.
On December 30th, Brian Kohberger was arrested at his family's property. Now in custody, the police took a buccal swab to directly compare Brian's DNA with that found on the sheath. The test determined that the DNA was 5.37 octillion times more likely to be Brian's than a randomly selected individual from the general population. During a search of the home, authorities found a blade, a pistol, and a black face mask, along with ID cards concealed inside a glove within a box. It's not yet been revealed who those ID cards belong to.
And that's another thing I gotta say real quick to y'all that I've been wondering, man. Like, I wish that we can get some type of evidence that would tie Brian to some of those people that was in that house that got murdered. You know what I'm saying? Like, he not an ex-boyfriend or a stalker, one of those women or something. Like, it seems so freaking random. Did he used to work with one of them? Go to school with them? Like, we need some type of connection like that.
Numerous objects were also seized from the property, including a pillow with a reddish-brown stain and a collection of dark red spots. Curiously, it's since come to light that Brian followed all 3 of the female victims on Instagram and had allegedly tried to contact one of them repeatedly on the app 2 weeks before the killings, persistently asking, "Hey, how are you doing?" Since none of the girls followed him back, it's possible they hadn't even noticed his messages. Former employees of the Mad Greek restaurant where Zana and Maddie worked have also testified that Brian visited their store in the lead up to the slayings, though said he hadn't acted suspiciously at the time. It's
Okay, now we getting some kind of connections, y'all. I was just talking about that. Come to find out, he been trying to slide in they DMs. You know what I'm saying, man? And they didn't. I ain't trying to be funny in this situation. Y'all get what I'm saying, though. Y'all know how I am. Let's go. He trying to slide in they damn DM, so he may was on some stalkerish-ish, pulling up at their jobs and stuff. He may was on some stalkerish-ish. I just wanted some type of connection.
or not Brian interacted with either Zana or Maddie, or even if he had met any of the decedents. Why he chose to target their home and them specifically, if indeed he did, also remains unclear. It's worth noting, however, that shortly before the incident occurred, Brian was carrying out a research project to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. This included asking ex-cons on Reddit how they felt before, during, and after committing atrocities. Whether this research was curricular or extracurricular remains unknown, but some web sleuths believe that Brian may have taken this assignment very seriously. When asked how he pled in court, Brian remained stone-faced and silent. The presiding judge entered a not guilty plea for each charge on his behalf. As it stands, Brian Kohberger maintains his innocence, claiming he was just out on a late-night drive on November 13th, hiking, running, and stargazing. Mr. Kohberger has long had a habit of going for drives alone, his lawyers have stated. Often he would go for drives at night. He did so late on November 12th and into November 13th, 2022. Our client is not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time. Despite that claim though, there is a mountain of evidence stacked against him, not least the DNA samples, surveillance footage, and cell tower data. And that's just the evidence that's been made public. That's to say, if Brian is innocent, he's the unluckiest man in the world. Brian has since waived his right to a speedy trial. As such, his trial date has yet to be set. Due to a gag order, at present, only a limited amount of information has been released to the public. This order's been put in place to protect Mr. Kohberger's right to a fair trial, though in his attorney's opinion, finding a fair and unbiased jury is going to be impossible. At time of publishing, he's requesting a change in venue, citing the, quote, extensive inflammatory pre-trial publicity, allegations made about Mr. Kohberger to the public by the media that will be inadmissible at his trial, the small size of the community, the salacious nature of the alleged crimes, and the severity of the charges. As a result of the gag order and the case's ongoing status, many questions are yet to be publicly answered. What was the killer's motive? Were all 4 students the intended targets, or were some of them collateral damage? What about D&B? Why were they left unharmed? No doubt all of that will come to light in due course, and for the sake of the families of all involved, I hope that's sooner rather than later.
Me too.
Until then, we'd all do well to remember what the world lost that cold November's night. 2 best friends, 2 romantic partners, and 4 bright futures, all taken for no good reason whatsoever.
Man, rest in peace to all four of them, first and foremost, y'all. First and freaking foremost. Secondly, man, I don't give a damn. I think he did it. I don't know how y'all feel, but me personally, secondly, I think he freaking did it, man. Everything just points towards him. And just all the suspicious ways he was acting, turning his phone off, driving past the house over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying, man? Trying to hit them up, sliding their DMs on Instagram, showing up to their work, all that. Like the lazy man said, if it ain't him, then he got to be the most unluckiest man ever, man. This was just like, dude, why though? That's where I'm stuck at. Like, dude, why though? Why did you do this? Why, like the lazy man said, why did you leave the other two alive? Was the other couple collateral damage? Like, what the freak, man? And like I said, the way he did it, as far as like going in the house all quietly, all stealthily, more than likely killing them in a sleep. Like, it's just like, dude, something out of a horror movie. Out of a freaking horror movie, man. But I digress. I ain't gonna go too deep on it, y'all. I'm just gonna sum it up like that. Another great video from our man, the lazy man. I appreciate y'all coming on back as always. Before y'all leave, just please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that if you ain't did that yet. And come on back on Tuesday, and I don't know who we going to, but you already know it's gonna be another what the is going on type of video. But until then, my friends, I also need y'all to remember this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.